My name's Kate Willoughby, and I'm dressed as Emily Davison at the moment. I hope you don't mind Francis, I just want to over it's lovely. So I'm technically coming to the House of Commons, walking in Emily Davison's shoes. I thought it would be nice to pop the costume back on, because I wrote a play, and it was first performed in 2009. It's been through all sorts of different variations, but it was actually performed here in the House of Commons, the old part, not actually Portcullis House, where they do sometimes let plays be put on, but it was in the Jubilee Room, so just a little bit further back, just off Westminster Hall. But first I should really say thank you very much to me and Francis, I can say as well, thank you for inviting me as well to speak, really appreciate that. And you remind me, we met back in 2013, gosh, because Emma Barnett, who was at the event, she was chairing it was Parliament Week, and she actually, that's where I had a chat with Emma and invited her to be part of a panel that I had as part of the play last year, in February last year. So it's all kind of coming full circle again, coming back.
Emma's going to be presenting the TV debates as well. So
right, yes, she's fantastic. So thumbs up for Emma Barnett, and also Dr. Helen Pankhurst, which is another connection with the suffragettes. Because walk in her shoes, Helen Pankhurst is one of the, she works is an ambassador for Care International, so there's a strong connection there, because her great-grandmother was Emmeline Pankhurst, who was the leader of the suffragettes. So, I will try and keep this short. Emily Matters is basically Emily Wilding Davison, who was a suffragette. I'm guessing, but I could be wrong, that you have an idea who the suffragettes were. Very briefly, they were mainly women, but there were men supporters, very much so, like George Lansbury, MP, I'm a big fan of him, and his granddaughter's actually Angela Lansbury, Dame Angela Lansbury. But the suffragettes fought for women to have the right to vote. Emily Davison in particular didn't just stop at the right to vote, and she wanted all women to have the right to vote. I am aware that there were some members of the hierarchy who perhaps wanted to have it slightly more exclusive for a certain type of woman to vote. Not Emily Davison. She was very much equality for everybody, equal pay, prison reform, and a good education. She was a member of the WEA, and I spoke at their spring conference in Newcastle on Friday. And so that's something that's very dear to my heart as well, about encouraging people, really gender equality, but getting involved and feeling that you have a voice, and that you matter. And when I first started doing speeches, I began with care leavers in Redbridge. And if anybody should be voting in this election, it's young people, like those young people I spoke with. And they actually were very lucky. The carers and people they were working with were good people. But there are far too many young women and young people, and women and people generally, who don't feel that they matter. And sometimes it's easy to brush that off, but there's things like girls matter, voting matters, your voice matters. But the way I'm working is very simple, and it is that you matter. Now, just going back to the play, which is called To Freedom's Cause, which, as I say, was performed here a year ago. The reason I wrote that was I read the last letter that Emily's mother wrote to her. It was just after the Derby. So she knew her daughter was gravely ill, but she didn't know that she was going to die within 3 days. And it was a certain phrase that she wrote. She said, "You've given your whole heart and soul to the cause, and it's done so little in return for you." And she signed the letter with "Oceans of love, your sorrowful mother." And it was that really, it touched me, and I sort of felt, rather than just this figure that we've seen, the graduate figure, very serious looking, the more I read about Emily, the more I realised she was full of life. She lit up a room, she was so creative. And just before coming here, I went down to the cupboard in St Mary Undercroft in the chapel, because in 1911, she hid there to make a strong statement on behalf of all women, that her place of residence on the 1911 census was right here in the House of Commons, where women belong. And as Francis was saying, we need far more women in this place, and I fully support 50-50 for the work that you're doing. So, moving on, as to why I feel that this does matter, in that I'm sure you're aware that particularly young women aren't voting. In 2010, only 39% of 18 to 24-year-old women voted, and only 20% of BME young women voted. I mean, that is not right. We've got so much work to do. There's some really good initiatives going on, and I'm really grateful that you invited me here this evening. Our work is really only just beginning. With Emily Matters, it's very much at an acorn stage, but I'm really excited because we've got big plans coming up looking towards 2018, when we have the first major anniversary of women's suffrage, but also for men as well, because men also had equal suffrage at that point. Women had to wait 10 years later, but still it's important we mark that. And So Freedom's Cause, I hope, will be very much a part of a big project that I'd love you to keep in touch with me about, because I want people to get involved. That's what this is about, hearing what you have to say, because what you're saying, it does matter. You have an equal voice, an equal vote. And what I would ask is that please, please, don't let anybody silence you, whether they be somebody who's funny and talk like that and he speaks for all the people. I don't believe that. I want to hear what you have to say, because only you are the expert of your experience, your life experience, and that goes for everybody, even those people who at the moment aren't planning to vote. The great news is April the 20th is the deadline for registering to vote, so we've got time. So go out there, your friends, there'll be plenty of your friends I'm sure who aren't so sure if they're going to vote. There's a new system as well. It's actually very straightforward, but particularly students may have fallen off the register. So on the Emily Matters website, which is actually hosted on my own, and I've got some cards I can give out, but it's emilymatters.co.uk. I have a general election toolkit. It's very simple because I'm aware, having worked on social media and worked with people all over the country, that we mustn't assume too much knowledge. I'm sure most people in this room know what a general election is, when it's going to happen. But I know for a fact there's a young woman I met recently when I was doing a campaign for International Women's Day, and she told me that when she was speaking with young women in the North East, one young woman said, "Oh yes, a general election. Is that today?" Well, you know, people don't always know. I know we're in the age of Google, but again, the good news is there are apps, websites, all sorts of things out there where you can get informed. And if you're not sure, well, I don't know if I like Ed Miliband or David Cameron, there's a site called Vote for Policies, which is excellent. Again, it's on my toolkit. So if you have a look on the website, and also another app I must mention, @_VOTR, @voter. That was designed by two 14 and 15-year-old coders, Freddie and Zach. It's brilliant, it's really simple. The tweets come in from your prospective MPs, the parliamentary candidates, and without knowing who they are, you swipe right to like, no, or not bothered to the top. And then you can press and see how many the person you most agree with, and it might surprise you. But it's basically for the Twitter generation. And that's the way we've got to go. And I realise time will be rushing by, so let me just, one thing, 3 more minutes, right, okay. Another important thing that I really believe, and I know that Emily Davison did, was that it's a rising tide carries all boats, or I hope in this instance carries all votes. So I'm going to be working with Register to Vote, which is a great campaign, and they're going to be doing lots of things up to the deadline on the 20th of April. There's also XX Vote, who are brilliant as well. They've got a fantastic video which you can watch. And really, why I'm passionate about this is because I was silenced. Somebody I had worked with on the play took it upon themselves to try and stop me bringing the play here. I really wanted to bring it to Parliament. I felt it would make a strong statement. And it was a very tough time, 2 years, and I was running scared, basically. Something happened quite recently, and I've woken up. I've got out of that bad era, but I'm aware that many people aren't, and they do struggle. Even if they appear fine, confident, I'm an actor, a writer, so, you know, what on earth. But it's really easy to get into that way of thinking, and that's when you doubt whether you should vote. I don't know enough. Well, no one will ever know enough. I ran a campaign, hashtag Dear Lauren. We ran it for Emily's birthday last year and International Women's Day this year. And that tapped into a young woman that I met in Glasgow last year at the independence referendum. And she said to me, I don't really like politics, I find it really boring. Sorry, I've got to go to uni. I've got the sound clip, you can listen to it, it's on my website. I didn't make a very good attempt at persuading her. I'd had 3 hours sleep off the sleeper train, but when I spoke to people and said exactly what Lauren herself had said, rather than a generic young woman, they responded. There was lots of words of encouragement. Some people perhaps said, get a grip, which is fair enough. But I think the way that we need to go is that it's our right. It's our birthright. We are equal. We all have one vote, and that's a wonderful thing. So what we're going to do in the immediate is working with Register to Vote, but also in the week leading up to the general election, we want to bring up that social aspect, that celebration aspect of voting. So if you are on Twitter, it's at Emily Matters, and I'd really, really love you to get involved and to stay with us because, as I say, we've got big plans for 2018. And Emily Davison trusted us, she trusted future generations because she knew that we have every right to have our say and to be equal and to be better represented in this place. It's because Emily matters and because you matter. Thank you.